While most people are terrified of the silence when a room goes empty, a rare group of individuals feels their brain literally unlock in that exact moment. Society labels them as loners, antisocial, or even broken, but neuroscience suggests something far more provocative. It turns out the more cognitively advanced you are, the more your social battery might actually be a liability. We've been told that humans are purely social animals, yet the world's most profound breakthroughs didn't happen in a crowd. They happened in the void of solitude. So why does your brain crave isolation while others fear it? And is there a hidden psychological superpower found only in those who prefer their own company? We're tearing down the myth of the lonely introvert to reveal the startling biological reality of why some people don't just survive alone, they thrive. Because if you've ever felt like a stranger in a crowded room, it might not be a lack of social skills. It might be the signature of a highly evolved mind.
I can't believe we hit the Q3 targets already! We deserve this break. That's a foul! You hacked my arm! No way, ref. He tripped over his own feet. Call the game right now!
It's been such a great turnout tonight.
Absolutely. I've already made 3 new contacts. Here's my card.
Excellent. Let's grab coffee.
Cheers, everyone, to the best night ever.
To understand this, we first have to look at the extrovert bias that has dominated our culture for decades. From open office plans to the constant connectivity of social media, we've built a world that views silence as a void that needs to be filled. If you aren't out there networking, dating, or socializing, the world assumes you're hiding. They think you're lonely. But there is a massive fundamental difference between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness is a state of lack, a painful gap between the connection you want and the connection you have. Solitude, however, is a state of abundance. It is the conscious choice to engage with your own mind without the interference of external noise. For the person who thrives alone, a crowded room isn't just boring, it's a source of high-level cognitive friction. While others are feeding off the external stimulation, your brain is busy processing every micro-expression, every shift in tone, and every unsaid tension in the air. You aren't antisocial, you're hyper-aware. And that level of awareness comes with a massive biological price tag. Your brain's prefrontal cortex, the seat of complex thoughts and decision-making, is working overtime. By the time an hour has passed, while your friends are just getting started, your internal system is flashing a low battery warning. But here's the mystery. Why would evolution create a brain that gets exhausted by the very thing, socialization, that supposedly kept our ancestors alive? We've been told that being a lone wolf is a recipe for failure, a glitch in the human software. We've been conditioned to believe that the more you isolate, the more you lose your edge. But what if the exact opposite is true? What if the void isn't where you go to hide from the world, but where you go to actually build it? Because here is the reality that most people miss. Most people aren't actually thinking when they're in a crowd, they're just reacting. Solitude is the only state where the human brain stops mimicking others and starts original processing. In fact, what we call personality might actually just be the noise of other people's expectations, and you only find out who you really are when there's no one left to watch you. This shift in perspective reveals the first hidden trait, the gatekeeper mentality. While the world is addicted to more friends, more notifications, more noise, the solitude seeker is obsessed with better. They don't have a wall around them. They have a filter. And that filter is the reason they never feel the FOMO that keeps everyone else up at night. They aren't missing out. They're opting out. But why is their opt-out so effortless? It comes down to a biological fork in the road. Most people's brains are wired for a dopamine hit, the rush of a laugh or a crowded bar. But the brain of someone who thrives alone is often tuned to acetylcholine. This is a quieter, more sustainable fuel. It's the neurochemical of deep focus and internal reflection. While the world is chasing a high, The loner is cultivating a steady state. They don't need the crowd to tell them they're alive, because their internal world is already screaming with activity. This leads to an uncanny level of emotional self-reliance. If you prefer being alone, you've likely realized you're your own primary source of stability. You don't vent to feel better. You process. You don't look for a mirror in someone else's eyes. You look at your own actions. This makes you incredibly difficult to manipulate. When you don't need the group's approval, the group loses its power over you. But there's a trade-off. This level of independence creates a psychological distance that others find intimidating. You see the patterns. You notice when a friend is lying to themselves. You see the cracks in the social script that everyone else is blindly following. You aren't just in the room, you are the architect of the room, observing the structural integrity of every interaction. And this is where the superpower turns into something much more intense. Because when you stop reacting to the world, you start predicting it. You develop a high-definition intuition that feels like a sixth sense. But having the gift comes with a burden that most people couldn't handle for a single day. That burden is the weight of seeing the truth in a world that survives on performance. When you possess the high-definition intuition that Solitude grants you, realize that you aren't a stranger in the room because you lack social skills. You are a stranger because you are the only one who has stopped performing. This is the ultimate resolution of the Solitude seeker's journey. You trade the shallow comfort of the crowd for the profound clarity of the self. We began by questioning whether this preference for isolation was a biological glitch or a hidden superpower. The answer lies in the silence you no longer fear. While the rest of the world is trapped in a cycle of reaction, mimicking the emotions and expectations of those around them, you have achieved a rare form of cognitive autonomy. You aren't just spending time alone, you are conducting a high-level audit of your own consciousness. This is why the world's most transformative breakthroughs weren't born in a meeting room or a crowded square. They were forged in the void. That void isn't an empty space, it is a laboratory. It is the only place where the human brain is free to stop simulating others and start creating for itself. If your social battery dies quickly, it's because your system is optimized for depth, not breadth. You are wired to process the world in 4K, while everyone else is content with a blurred signal. So if you've ever felt like an outsider, understand this. You aren't broken, and you aren't antisocial. You are an explorer of the inner frontier. You have mastered the most difficult human skill, the ability to be whole without needing a witness. You have turned your isolation into a fortress of self-reliance, and your silence into a source of power. The world might call it loneliness, but you know it for what it truly is, the ultimate signature of a highly evolved mind, standing still long enough to finally see the world as it actually is.
Hey, how are you? Great party, right? Let's take a selfie. Cheers.
The world is loud, and most of what you consume is designed to keep you trapped in that cycle of reaction. More noise, more performance, more blurred signals. But you've stayed until this final moment because you recognize a different frequency. You realize that protecting your cognitive autonomy is no longer optional, it is a necessity. If you are ready to stop simulating the expectations of the crowd and start mastering the laboratory of your own mind, then you belong here. We are building a sanctuary for the hyper-aware, a space where depth is the only metric that matters. By securing your place with us, you aren't just hitting a button, you are reinforcing the filter that keeps your intuition sharp and your fortress of self-reliance intact. Let's continue this high-level audit of consciousness together, far away from the shallow noise. Join the few who choose to see the world as it actually is.